You know who's the most charismatic person that I've ever met? It's Deepika Padukone. So back in 2017, I was working with India Today and I had to go interview her for the launch of her Live, Love, Laugh Foundation. I might get the year wrong. And I went and I really liked her, admired her work at that point in time. But when we went there and when she started speaking on stage and afterwards when she started interacting with me, with other people, there was this sort of vibe, sort of energy that we instantly felt, which pulled us towards her. And that's when I understood what charisma means. And we all know such people in life, right? We might not know Deepika Padukone, but we all know such people who walk into a room and they effortlessly command attention. They make heads turn. And the surprising part is that it's not about their looks. Deepika is beautiful, but her charisma was not a result of her looks. And it's not even because of their status. It's, like I said, their vibe, their energy. And that energy, that charisma is not always innate. So if you go and look back at the initial videos or interviews of Deepika Padukone, that charisma does not come across, which means it can be developed. You don't have to be born with it. That is why in this video, we are diving into 7 powerful social skills that you need to master for an attractive personality. These are psychology backed, super easy to practice, and super effective. Now, when I personally started putting myself out there, whether it was on YouTube or just by being more social, I felt cringy, like I was forcing myself to be this version of someone I thought people would like. But over time, I learned 2 important things. 1, everyone feels this way at some point in time. And 2, being socially attractive isn't about being loud or copying someone else. It is about being present, being the most real and most importantly, emotionally aware. That is what makes you magnetic. And by the end of this video, you will walk away with 7 habits that can make anyone magnetic. Habit number 4 is my personal favorite, but for now, let's start with the first one, which is embracing the cringe. We all have that fear of being cringe. There's a constant chatter in our mind that says, what if people judge me? What if I look stupid? What if they think I'm weird? But here's a truth that you need to hear. Your version of cringe is somebody else's version of courage. That quirky laugh that you try to tone down, or your bold outfit, the fact that you're super clumsy, those things that you're self-conscious about are often the very things that inspire other people. They make you real, and real is rare. You remember Geet from Jab We Met? When she says, "Main apni favorite hoon," it is not arrogance, it is self-acceptance. And that is what makes her character unforgettable. She owns her weird, she's loud, she's chaotic, expressive, and that's exactly why she's iconic. Because she is not trying to be anybody else. When I post these videos on YouTube, there are so many gestures and expressions that I often consider cutting out because I feel they're cringe. But you guys have left comments saying you love them. And that's because authenticity is magnetic, even if you, in the moment, feel like it's cringe. This is where Albert Bandura's concept of self-efficacy comes in. Albert Bandura is a psychologist, by the way. He said, your belief in your ability grows every time you act, even in small ways. Basically, the more you show up as yourself, the more you prove to yourself that you can. So how do you go ahead and practice embracing the cringe in real life? Number 1, stop outsourcing your self-worth. You decide how valuable you are. Not your social media, not that one group of people, not strangers, because not everyone will understand your energy, your vibe. And that's completely okay. The goal is not to be universally liked. It is to be authentically you and attract the right people who appreciate that authentic part of you. Number 2, make your own scale. What matters to you? What feels authentic to you? Define that and stick to it. One of my favorite ways to do this is whenever you are going to a social gathering or meeting someone, instead of asking yourself, will they like me? Ask yourself, will I like them? This shifts your focus to understanding yourself better and makes it a lot easier for you to be yourself. And 3, do one cringy thing every single day, even if it is uncomfortable, even if somebody calls it cringe. If it feels right in your heart, go ahead and do it. Show up as this cringy person every single day, because showing up honestly and doing that, you've won half the battle. So post that video, wear that bold lip, start that conversation. By doing this, you train your nervous system to realize that nothing bad happens when you're real, when you're authentic. In fact, in most situations, good things actually happen because authenticity is magnetic. Coming to skill number 2, compliment behavior, not just looks. We all know that giving compliments is one of the best ways to break the ice, to build a connect with people that you meet, whether it's for the first time, whether you're meeting them for like the 15th time. Everybody loves to hear good stuff about themselves. But the issue is that most compliments are superficial. How many times have you heard things like, "Oh my God, you look so pretty. I love your hair. Your dress is gorgeous. Where is it from?" And now, how often do you hear something like, "Oh, I really loved how you planned this out for me. It felt so thoughtful. The gift you picked, I could tell you know me so well." Notice the difference? Both types of compliments, they feel good, but the second kind hits deeper. Okay, let's take an example. Remember English Winglish? I'm sure everybody has seen that movie. I absolutely love it. There's a scene where Laurent admires Shashi, not for her looks or for her sari, but for her grace, her dignity, her essence. And you can see it in her face that for the first time in a long time, Shashi truly feels seen. Not as somebody's mother, not as somebody's wife, just as herself. A study from the University of Pennsylvania found that character-based praise, like complimenting somebody's thoughtfulness, kindness, or effort, creates more emotional closeness than surface-level compliments. And it makes sense, right? When somebody sees beyond your appearance and notices something you thought no one would notice, that feeling stays with you. So try this the next time you want to compliment somebody better. Notice and call out the effort and the intention, not just the outcome. So instead of saying stuff like, "You look nice today," say, "You clearly put a lot of thought into this look. It really reflects your personality." Basically, try to validate the intention, the care, and the creativity someone has put into any of their actions. That basically tells people that I see the work you did behind the scenes and I appreciate it. A couple of swaps you can try. So instead of "That was such a thoughtful gift," you can say, "You really know how to make people feel special." Instead of "Nice presentation," you can say, "You explained that in such a clear, calm way. It made a big difference." Another thing you can do is focus on emotional strengths of people when you're complimenting them. And it's a great way to build connection with someone. So notice things about their behavior, their character, and compliment those. For instance, saying something like, "You have such a calming presence. You're really good at making people feel included. Your resilience is inspiring. I noticed how you handled that tough situation." Kindness, patience, humor, and curiosity, these are traits that people often undervalue in themselves. And when you reflect it back to them, it builds a very powerful emotional bond. Just remember that a compliment isn't just about making someone feel good. It's about making them feel seen. And that's one of the most attractive, generous things you can offer in any social interaction. To compliment well, you need to notice how people behave and show up. And when you start doing that, you automatically become more attractive in a social setting because you're not just inward focused, you're paying attention to others. You're making them feel seen, and that makes them feel drawn to you. This brings me to habit number 3, the start and rule. You know, in movies, when the main character enters, the entire vibe of the scene shifts. You feel them before you see them. In fact, there's a whole hoo-halla in Bollywood about making main character entrances, right? The fun part is, what if you could create the same energy in real life, where people feel your presence the moment that you enter and remember it even after you leave? Here is where the psychology enthusiast in me jumps in. There's something called the primacy recency effect, a concept from cognitive psychology that says people tend to remember the beginning and end of an interaction most clearly. So what does that mean for you in social settings? It means that your entry and your exit actually matter a lot more than you think. Let's take an example from Wake Up Sid. At the start, Sid walks into a room with chaos, no awareness, no direction, just barging in, taking up space without intention. But by the end of the film, his presence has completely transformed. He walks in quietly, confidently. There's no overcompensating, no drama, just a grounded, intentional energy. And that ending is something that you remember. That transformation is something you remember because of the ending. So here is how I want you to practice this. Start by entering rooms with energy, not urgency. Whether you are joining a room, whether you're joining a call, a conversation, pause, breathe, and then greet with presence. Make eye contact, smile, let people feel that you have arrived. Think of being grounded and not rushed when you're doing this. And when you just think of those words, you become more intentional, you are not rushed, you're not overpowering. Another thing I want you to do is leave on a high note. So before exiting, share a moment of appreciation. Maybe it could be a joke or a genuine, thanks, like it was great seeing you. Make your goodbye feel warm and complete, not abrupt. That is the part people will carry with them. And 3, pre-plan your intro and your outro. Now, this is not about being fake. It's about being thoughtful. So before a meeting or a date or a party, just ask yourself, how do I want people to feel when I enter the room? And what lasting vibe do I want to leave behind? Then act accordingly. Here's how you can apply this in real life. Let's say that you're going to a friend's birthday party where you only know a few people. Before you enter, you decide that I want to come across as warm and confident, and I want people to feel like I genuinely enjoyed meeting them. So when you arrive, you do not just slip in quietly or scroll on your phone in the corner. You smile, you greet them with real enthusiasm, you introduce yourself to somebody new with a simple, hey, I don't think we've met, I'm Adete. And at the end of the night, instead of sneaking out unnoticed, you take a moment to say goodbye to everybody that you've met. Thanks for the lovely evening. I had such a good time. You've got a great group of friends. It was really lovely meeting you. Let's connect sometime later. Be the main character of every room that you walk into. You don't have to be the loudest, you don't have to be the flashiest, but you have to be the one with presence, with intention, and with emotional awareness. That is the kind of energy that sticks even after you've left the room. This brings me to habit number 4, master inverted thinking. Now, this habit is extremely important, and like I told you, it's one of my favorite. And if you've seen last week's video on mental models, you know this can not only make you attractive, but it can make you a much smarter person overall. To recap, let's understand what inverted thinking actually is. It is the ability to shift your mindset from an outcome-based thinking to an identity-based thinking. What I mean by that is, instead of asking, how do I become socially more attractive or likable, you reverse engineer the question and ask, what would somebody who is already attractive or likable or sociable be thinking or doing right now? Psychologists also call this the reverse engineering mindset. Basically, you're not copying somebody's actions. Instead, you are stepping into the mindset behind those actions. This usually removes the neediness in your actions and creates authenticity that builds internal alignment. And that is exactly what people are drawn to. Now, here's a quick example for you to understand this. Imagine you and your friend both enroll in a course or an activity. She joins in because she's excited to learn and connect with new people. And you just do it for the sake of a certificate or just like as a tag along. Even though the both of you are in the same place, the mindset changes everything. She ends up asking questions, she ends up networking, she ends up learning faster, and yes, becoming more socially magnetic. While you might stay quiet, disengaged, and focus on the outcome, not the process. That is the power of inverted thinking. Attractive people are not doing things differently, they're just thinking differently. And here's exactly what you can do to become that person. 1, ask identity-based questions. Instead of asking what I should do, ask what a magnetic person in this situation would do. Make it your identity. Also, in this case, you can take an example of your favorite celebrity or anybody that you look up to who you think is socially attractive. Personally, right now, I find Priyanka Chopra extremely magnetic. So I'll ask, what would Priyanka Chopra be doing in this situation? If she were here, what would she have done? And then I would follow through on what my mind tells me to do. This is not to be fake or not to fake it, but to step into that identity. Would they wait for somebody to approach them, or would they start the conversation? Would they obsess over saying the perfect thing, or would they focus on being genuinely curious? Another thing you should do is not to chase, but to embody. So instead of thinking, how do I get people to like me? Flip the question. What would I do if I already believed I'm likable? This simple shift removes desperation and helps you act from alignment, not from anxiety. And finally, use the future you filter. Before making any decision, how you dress, how you speak, how you carry yourself, ask, would the version of me that I want to become make this choice? This helps you close that gap between who you are right now and who you are becoming. You don't have to wait to be magnetic, you just need to start thinking like the version of you who already is. Think of Kiara from Dear Zindagi, right? At the beginning of the movie, she was only chasing achievements, a perfect career, a perfect relationship, a perfect image, but that was all outcome based, right? She was just ticking boxes and yet feeling empty. It's only after she meets Dr. Jahangir, played by Shah Rukh Khan, that her mindset changes completely. She's okay. She stops trying to prove that she's okay. She starts becoming okay. She begins to think like somebody who's actually growing, healing, and owning her story instead of hiding it. And that is when her creativity flows. That is when her relationships improve, and she becomes the most magnetic in her own authenticity. Coming to habit number 5, social calibration. If you have ever looked at someone in a party or a gathering and thought to yourself, hey, how are they vibing with the group so effortlessly? You've just witnessed something called social calibration. It's not about being the loudest in the room, it's about being in tune with the energy of the room. There's this emotional intelligence theory by Daniel Goleman, which highlights that social awareness and self-regulation are two key traits that drive influence and connection. And people with attractive personalities, they instinctively adjust their intensity, their tone, their approach, depending on the situation. They're not the same at a family dinner, a networking event, or a casual hangout, but they're always themselves. What they're doing is scanning the energy of the room, matching it just enough to build trust, and then slowly they start leading with that energy. That is what makes them come across as emotionally intelligent and completely in control. They're not blending in, they're tuning in to that frequency, that energy, and then shaping the vibe without ever forcing it. That, my friend, is the art of social calibration. And yes, it is ridiculously attractive. And this is something you can absolutely work on. Here's what to do. In any social setting, observe before you speak. Understand the situation. What is the flow of the conversations? What's the mood? And then match your tone and your body language accordingly. Let's say that you're at a casual hangout with a couple of friends, right? Everybody is light, they're joking around. Don't suddenly drop into serious mode or start like a serious conversation. And on the flip side, don't be too hyper or too casual too fast. Read the energy of the room. Let it settle. Then bring value to the room, not by demanding attention, but by respecting the space that you're walking into. Coming back to one of my favorite examples here, Deepika Padukone. Now, she's openly spoken about her battle with depression. Look at how she carries herself at a mental health event. She's soft-spoken, she's grounded, vulnerable, her posture is calm, her tone is reassuring, her words are careful and intentional. She is not trying to dominate the room, she's holding space for people. And when you compare that to Deepika on the red carpet, for instance, she's bold, she's poised, she's elegant, her energy is sharper, more confident, but still composed. She matches the energy of the space without ever losing who she is. That is real social intelligence. She's not blending in, she's tuning into the energy that current room requires. That gets me to habit number 6, communication. Now, this is something that everybody talks about. Someone with an attractive personality always knows how to hold a great conversation. We all know that. And most people will tell you two things: ask questions and be curious, and that's how you become good at conversations. While that is true to an extent, I want to take it a step further, because here's the thing. You cannot ask questions like you're interviewing somebody for a passport. What's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? What does your dad do? Do you have siblings? Please. That is not a conversation, that is a census. Attractive people don't just talk to others, they weave conversations like stories. They remember small details, a joke, a comment, a throwaway line, and bring them back later effortlessly. Something like, wait, that reminds me of what you said earlier about your childhood dog. That was so cute. That one line is not just smart, it is anchoring. It makes the other person feel seen, feel heard, feel remembered. They're not just a part of the conversation, they're part of the moment. Harvard research shows that being remembered during a conversation increases how valued someone feels. And when somebody feels valued, it deepens their connection to you. So how do you go ahead and do this in real life? Step 1 is to pay attention to what people are saying, and step 2, pick up threads from past chats and reintroduce them casually. It is that simple. It just takes a little bit of practice. Let's say somebody told you last week that their dog was unwell. The next time you see them, just ask, hey, is your dog doing better now? That's it. They will remember that more than any deep philosophical debate that you had with them. And the perfect example of this is Virat Kohli. Off the field, he's often seen chilling with friends or teammates. You will notice that he casually brings up a joke someone cracked days ago, or remembers something somebody mentioned in passing. He's not doing it to impress anyone. He doesn't need to impress anyone. He's doing it because he was present. And when he brings it up, there's warmth. It's almost like saying, I heard you and I remembered you. that is magnetic AF. You're not just another voice in the room, you are someone they chose to remember. Coming to habit number 7, use your vulnerability. Attractive people don't just know how to share, they know when to share, what to share, and why they are sharing it. They aren't emotionally dumping or fishing for validation. They're not oversharing on the first meet. What they do instead is this. They share stories that are real, that are emotionally safe, and most importantly, intentional. Their vulnerability is not a burden, it is a bridge. The reason this works so well is because vulnerability invites empathy, and empathy builds connection faster than any surface level charm ever will. Attractive people don't share their pain to seek rescue, they share their truth to connect. Let me break this down for you. Vulnerability is not about winning or losing, it's about having the courage to show up and be seen when you have no control over the outcome. These are not my words, that's said by Brené Brown, a renowned psychologist whose work has changed how the world views emotional expression. In a social setting, this means being honest without asking somebody else to carry your emotional weight. So if I take another Bollywood example here, do you guys remember Tamasha? That one scene where Ved breaks down in front of Tara and says, मैं वही हूँ जो मैं दिखाता हूँ. It hits so hard because it is timed right. It's not dramatic or performative. He's not asking to be fixed. He's simply asking to be seen. And that's exactly what vulnerability done right feels like. So here is what you can do to be more vulnerable, to be more open and conversational in social settings. 1, share stories that reflect growth, not just open wounds. So let's say your parents are going through a divorce right now. Don't just go and start talking about it to every second person that you meet, right? But you can definitely talk about how you have transformed as a person after undertaking that journey with your parents. Another thing you can do is be intentional. Ask yourself, am I sharing this stuff to connect or to be rescued? If it is the former, you are on the right track. Because in the end, people are not attracted to perfection, they're attracted to authenticity. We've been saying this through and through this video. That is what true emotional magnetism looks like. Now, before I let you go, let's quickly reflect on what we've uncovered in this video. We started with the idea that social skills are not about pretending or performing, they're about becoming more you, becoming more connected, more intentional, more powerful in your presence, not because you're louder or flashier, but because you're real. So the 7 social skills that we uncovered today are 1, confidence through authenticity, where you embrace your cringe because that is where your magic lives. 2nd is to complement behavior, not just looks, because depth is magnetic. 3, the start end rule. How you walk into and out of a room says more than your entire presence in between. 4, my personal favorite, inverted thinking. Shift your mindset from outcome-based thinking to identity-based thinking. 5, social calibration. Read the room, tune into it, and then adjust accordingly. 6, story-like communication, because people don't remember facts, they remember how you made them feel. And 7, the power of vulnerability. Share your truth, but don't place your wounds in somebody else's hands. Connect, don't collapse. Now here's the thing, if you start practicing even one of these consciously in your day-to-day life, you will notice something shift. Not just in how people respond to you, but in how you feel about yourself, in your body, in your energy, in your sense of presence. You will start walking into rooms with quiet confidence. You will have conversations that feel natural yet memorable. You'll be remembered not because you tried to stand out, but because you stood in your truth. And if there's one thing that I want you to take away from this entire video, it is that the most attractive people are not trying to impress anyone. They are too busy being completely, unapologetically themselves. So permit yourself to become that person, and I promise you, over time, you won't just become more socially skilled, you will become someone people feel safe around, seen with, and drawn to. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments which of these social skills you're going to start working on first. And if you found this valuable, don't forget to like, share, and of course, subscribe. I don't remember saying subscribe a lot on this channel, but that's besides the point. Make sure you go check out the other videos we have done on attractive personalities if this was of interest to you. And I'm gonna see you guys very, very soon in the next one. Bye.